They threw me into a Saudi prison to break me. They stripped me of my freedom, my faith, my pride. But what they didn't know, was that in that very cell, the man I had denied all my life would come to meet me. My name is Yusuf, and this is the story of how Jesus Christ found me in the darkest corner of the earth. For days after that encounter, I could barely eat. Barely think. Every second, his words replayed in my mind. You sought truth, now truth stands before you. But the logical part of me screamed that it was impossible. I was Muslim. I believed in Allah. I respected Isa as a prophet, but not as God. Not as the Son. And yet, that night in solitary, I felt something deeper than I ever felt in all my years of worship. It began subtly, a brightness that had no source. No bulb, no window. The cell itself was sealed from light. But it was there, around me, pulsing gently, like it was alive. I wasn't afraid. In fact, I felt more alive than ever. On the third day, something happened that made the guards panic. When they opened my cell for the morning inspection, they stepped back, shielding their eyes. One of them muttered in Arabic, "There's light coming from his cell." They searched everywhere for the cause, no lamp, no fire, nothing. The warden ordered me to be moved, thinking I had smuggled something. But no matter where they put me, that glow remained at night. A soft, golden radiance that wrapped the cell like a blanket. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. But one evening, as I prayed the traditional prayers, I suddenly stopped mid-recital. The words felt empty. My tongue refused to move. And instead, my heart began to say something else. Something I had never dared to say. Jesus, if you are real, show me again. Silence. Then warmth. I opened my eyes, and there he was again. Not in physical form this time, but in light. It filled every inch of the cell, until I couldn't tell where the walls ended and heaven began. I heard his voice. Yusuf, you are not forgotten. I have chosen you for something greater than chains. I broke down weeping. I didn't understand what was happening, but I knew one thing, peace had entered me. The kind of peace that no punishment, no doctrine, no threat could give. When the guards returned that night, they found me sitting calmly, smiling. One of them shouted, "Why are you smiling, prisoner?" I simply said, "Because I am free." They laughed, called me mad, but I didn't care. That night, I slept like a child. And in my dream, Jesus showed me something, a vision of me walking through the streets of Jeddah, free, with my chains falling off one by one. But he also showed me people, faces of men in white robes, praying in secret, whispering the name, Yeshua. I didn't know them. But I felt their faith connect with mine. When I woke up, I knew, my story wasn't ending in that cell. It was just beginning. 2 weeks later, everything changed again. A riot broke out in the prison. Inmates were protesting the food, the treatment, chaos spread fast. Guards shouted, sirens wailed, and suddenly, fire engulfed the West Block. They locked our section to contain us, but the smoke poured in through the vents. Men screamed. Some prayed. Others cursed. And I dropped to my knees. Not out of fear, but faith. I shouted, Jesus. If you truly saved me, save them too. Then something unbelievable happened. The flames that had reached our cell doors suddenly stopped, as if an invisible wall stood in their path. The metal turned red hot but didn't melt. One prisoner across from me screamed, "The fire won't come in. Look." And then, just like that, the air cooled. When the guards finally opened the section hours later, not a single man from our block was harmed. The others? Burned. Whispers spread through the prison. Yusuf's cell is protected. God is with him. His Jesus saved him. I tried to keep quiet, but faith burns louder than fear. Men started asking questions. They wanted to know who Jesus was, what he said to me, how he saved us. So I told them. Every night, under the hum of the lights, I whispered his words to those who dared to listen. Do not be afraid. I am with you always. And slowly, lives began to change. Among the guards was a man named Farid, strict, loyal, and ruthless. He had beaten men half to death for smuggling Bibles into prison. One night, he came to my cell looking uneasy. He said quietly, "Tell me the truth, Yusuf. Did you make a deal with a spirit?" I shook my head. Not a spirit, Farid. A savior. He frowned. You're Jesus. I nodded. Yes. He leaned closer to the bars. Then tell your Jesus to heal my daughter. She's dying. My heart stopped. He was trembling, tears in his eyes, the same man who once called me a liar. I reached out my hand through the bars and said, Farid, I can't heal her. But Jesus can. That night, I prayed like never before. Not in Arabic, not in ritual, but from my heart. The next morning, Farid came running. She's alive. She opened her eyes. Yusuf, what did you do? I smiled. I didn't do anything. He did. Farid fell to his knees, right there in front of my cell, weeping. And for the first time, I saw a guard, a man of power, bow not to a king, but to the King of Kings. Word spread like wildfire. Inmates began gathering secretly during the night. We prayed, sang softly, and shared what little food we had. We were Muslims, Hindus, even atheists, but in those nights, we became brothers. Farid smuggled in small notes, verses from the Injil, the New Testament. We read them under the dim bulb light, tears streaming down our faces. The warden found out. He was furious. He ordered a raid. They burst into our block and found us kneeling. They dragged me out, shouting, "You are spreading blasphemy." I thought it was over. But as they beat me, I heard the voice again. Forgive them, Yusuf, for they do not know what they do. I whispered it aloud, and everything stopped. The warden froze. The guard dropped his baton. And one by one, they stepped back. I looked up through swollen eyes and saw the same glow, not outside me this time, but inside me. They couldn't touch me anymore. Weeks later, without warning, I was called out. The warden told me, "You're free to go. No trial. No paperwork. No explanation. Just freedom." As I walked out under the Arabian sun, I felt the weight of the chains that were no longer on my wrists, both physical and spiritual. That night, I stood in the desert and looked up at the sky. "Why me, Lord?" I whispered. And he replied, softly, yet clearly. "Because you were never my enemy. You were my child." Tears streamed down my face. And from that day forward, I began telling my story, the story of how Jesus met me in a Saudi prison cell and turned my darkness into light.